We used to bring candy to give to bribe questions out of people, but we have that.
So for all of your books, not just the most recent ones, which character do you find is the most like yourself?
So that's a good question. I feel like there's a little, that sounds weird, but there's a little bit of me in every character or else you couldn't really write them. But I really identified with Vivia's story in Windwitch because she deals a lot with mental health and it runs in her family, which is something I personally have dealt with and deal with. And yeah, I didn't try to kill my brother like she did, but which she didn't really. She's just misunderstood. But I also have had a really strained relationship with my siblings that I've worked through. So that book is dedicated to them for that reason.
It's very nice. Yeah, for the same reason. Especially, it's really hard to write first-person POV without identifying with a lot in that character, even if it's a villain or an antagonist or something. There has to be something that you get on a visceral level. So just because I wrote three books from Mare's point of view, essentially, like, definitely identified with her the most. And there's pieces of her and things she would say. It's like, oh, that's what I would say in this situation. And my dad especially is like, I can hear you saying that. It's usually something sarcastic and snide. Yeah, but also Evangeline is kind of a lot of what I wish I was, and then there's always these things that you're glad you're not, and it's really fun to write characters who you're glad you're not.
I always identified, actually, you know, having just mentioned Corny, I always identified a lot with him because I felt like, you know, it's like I write a lot of characters who are able to do things that I'm not able to do, and Corny was somebody who was just human and who was super attracted to the idea of fairyland, but then when he went there, it completely chewed him up and spat him out, and I thought, this is me. This is exactly how things would go for me. I would be like, hello! You know, sure, will I drink oh, I guess now I'm, you know, passed out under this table and, you know, a thrall of the fairies forever. Too bad. You know, I knew not to do it, but I did it anyway.
Day one.
Day one. Thrall.
It was on your schedule.
Yeah.
Any more questions? Oh, right here.
Hi, I have a question for Holly.
Yes.
What do you think of the movie The Spiderwick Chronicles, which has been 10 years since it came out?
My goodness, you're right. It's been you're right, it's exactly 10 years. Came out in 2008. I thought that they did a great job. I really did. You know, obviously there's, you know, whenever someone makes an adaptation of your work, it's not going to necessarily be exactly the way you imagined it. But I think the things that were always important to me was that it felt like the kids, and that the magic felt kind of local to the house and small and organic, and I think that was absolutely true. Like there's this moment where Jared takes this stick and kind of hits the front of the headlights of the car, and that's not in the book, but it really felt like something he would do, and it was one of those weird moments where you kind of almost feel like, oh God, you're like doing stuff that I didn't know about. Like, this is weird for me. Like, what else do you do between, you know, moments in the book? And that was a really good feeling. So I think, you know, Mark Waters, I think everybody did a great job.
Oh, I have an update for all of you. If you want to see more of Natasha Polis, I have a video of her interviewing Marie Lou at this spot.
Thank you.
If you all want to see it, look under my name, Malcolm Cooper.
Thank you, Malcolm. We had another question. Yes.
How do you come up with a character's name?
I mean, I'm like really working about it, and I've built language systems for each of my cultures, and then the names are drawn from that, which I am certain that no reader actually senses. I've had one reader, who has a master's in anthropology, and she was like, oh my gosh, your naming system is so intense and accurate. And I was like, you picked up.
That's so cool.
But she's literally the only person. So I don't know if it's worth all the time, but I go to it just because I want it to feel real, and maybe the readers do subconsciously notice that each character is named based on the culture they come from.
Can you talk? I noticed.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Can you talk a little bit about how you do that?
Yeah, sure. So I definitely looked some to the real world because that's always best, but I also didn't want it to sound like clearly Latin or anything like that. And the Witchlands is very heavily Eastern European, which is probably why that is like the only foreign rights I've sold. It's like a line down Eastern Europe from Russia down to Turkey. Basically, I actually had a guy, a Bulgarian, say, "Is this set in Bulgaria?" And I was like, "No, but thank you." So, how do you not know your own country?
Similar to like The Witcher too.
Which is Polish. Do love literature, although male gaze. So yeah, I developed the different cultures. We have the Nomadzis, and they have a very guttural naming system, but their language itself is quite soft. Literally, guys, does anyone know how to diagram sentences? Do they even teach that in school anymore? Okay.
I know how to diagram a sentence, but I have no idea how you're getting from here to there.
I have diagrammed many a sentence coming up with phrases for the Nomadzis. So like, me verujta, which is in the first book, and means trust me as if my soul were yours. The verb is veruj, which means to trust as if their soul were yours. Me is the, what do you call that? One receiving the action, direct object. And ta is actually the subject. And yes, I have developed that and written it all out and come up with other phrases for the book. And that is called procrastination.
But yeah, it reaches it not just for the audience, because even if the audience doesn't physically know what you're doing, they can sense like these threads tie together. Not to make a pun or anything, but they can get like these things are similar. These are similar cultures. These are similar countries, and it does make sense on a subconscious level, and it does help readers. But it also helps you, like as before I was saying, this helps you internalize it. It is procrastination. I absolutely do it too. But it does help you get to that point where you're familiar enough with the world that you can just go. Yeah. I do way less intense, where I do letters. And I pick out which letters each language is going to use heavily. And then I can create names from that. I didn't do it in Red Queen because it's future America, but for this new project, it's certain cultures use certain letters more than others, so it's easier to, it's more of a shortcut. It's definitely, but I find like that's the way to ease yourself in to getting to Susan and Tolkien creating languages.
You're in the Tolkien category.
Yes, you guys definitely want my autograph.
I mean, I look through a lot of old books, look at a lot of sort of the names that reoccur in folklore, and I looked at a bunch of sort of prefix, suffix stuff, and sometimes I will take, like, I will go through like a baby naming site like Nameberry, and I will take a common name or common like root name and sort of see if I can move around some of the prefix and suffix stuff so that it doesn't feel like it's specifically, like it feels a little bit in between. Like it feels like it could come from, where either, Scottish or Irish folklore, but it isn't actually that. So that it feels like this strange and slightly removed place that's very.
That's what I think is more difficult than going full tilt fantasy, is finding something that is in between our world.
And it is not. It is not more difficult. What you are doing is much more difficult. I think it is so much more difficult.
No, especially at least in Red Queen, I know just based on feedback, some people are like, these names are crazy, and then some names fly right by, and you're like, that is a different name too, but that one was familiar enough that it didn't jar somebody when they were reading it. And then there are some names where they're like, Kalorn, where the hell did that come from? And you're like, oh, well, that one was a bit of a step beyond. But it is an interesting thing to like have someone with an intense first name and a common last name.
So do you feel like now your naming system, like doing this new naming system, you feel like this is actually easier?
A little bit, and then sometimes, at least, I always talk about it in terms of Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones, is you still want to have a level of familiarity. You don't want so many apostrophes in your names. Because you can have a character named Jon Snow, and you can have a character named Daenerys Targaryen, blah, 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 blah. So it's, you got to find those levels where an audience will take that first step with you, but they won't take 3 steps. You got to ease them into it, and you do it with role building, you do it with the plot, you do it with the magic systems, you do it with names too. It's just getting that person to take one more step, like you're holding a little treat and they come.